Good morning, all of you. Can you hear me?
Good morning, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the thing is, last class we discussed about the required start of capital for as a part of the business plan. So in the business plan, you need to include the required start of capital. So here we'll be talking about the capital investment and what is meant by this working capital. So there's nothing much calculations in this part. Here you just need to include what would be your capital investment and your working capital, as well as your business details as well in the business plan. So as we discussed in the last class, the capital investment is something which you need in order to buy the assets which last for a long time, and also the value of those assets will be high value. So normally we call these as the long-term investment, and also we can call, so the technical term is capital investment, but the alternative word you can say is capital investment. So here, so here you can see, so they have categorized the capital investment into two categorizations. One is business premises and machineries, equipments, and tools. So normally, in order to start a business, you should have a place, a location, or building. So those things comes under this category of business premises. And the next thing is you should have the machineries, equipments. So in order to have office setup, or in order to have a manufacturing setup, you need to have all these items. So they have categorized these capital investment as the business premises and machineries and equipment. So as these are the things that you are going to include in your business plan, so for that initial level, these things are enough, which means the business premises and the machineries, because all these things you are including as a forecasting figures, right? So which you are going to implement in the futures. So that is what that business plan is meaning. So here you need to include as the initial thing under the category of capital investment, the two things you need to include as business premises, and the next category is machinery of equipments and tools. So this thing we can see in detail. Yes. So the first category is the business premises. So you can see what they are referring here. So for starting some kind of business, you need to have the location or the building that you need to work from. So it can be a big factory or it can be a small room. So it depends on your nature of the business. So here you need to decide which you are going to choose to as a solution for these premises. So here you can see the four options where you can choose your premises. The first one is construct, then the second one is buy, third one is rent, then the fourth one is run the business from your home. So you can see how you are choosing your premises. So it depends on your nature and the capital you are having at your initial stage. So if you are having the required capital or required capital investments, you can choose the construct. You can construct your premises. The construct in the sense you can build, right? So it depends on your nature of the business. If it is a manufacturing organization which needs special kind of constructions, or the locations or the architecture. So those time on those particular thing, you need to decide to construct. So for example, if you are starting a mall in a populated city, like in your hometown, you can see which is your populated area. So you are planning to build a mall. So in those particular thing, you need to have specific designs where the uh, where you can implement your new ideas and all these things to attract your customers. So it depends on your nature of the business, and if you have that required capital, you can construct your premises. The next thing is buy the premises. So in some cases, you may choose to buy a particular building because you think that that particular building is suitable for your business. So there is no need to construct. So you can set up your business in that building. So at that time, you decide to buy the premises. So that is also one of the option. And the third option is rent the premises. So in some cases, we may out of our capital investment. So we may have difficulty in accessing our initial capital. So on those time, we can choose the rent. We can choose the rent options. So sometimes there might be cases, right? So if your business is a small scale business where you can depend on your own skills and all these things, so at that time you may have difficulty in getting the capital, right? So on those circumstances you can choose the third option, rent the premises. So rent in the sense, our normal tradition, so you have to pay the rent monthly and you can run your business. Then the final option is run the business from your home. So you can see currently there are many entrepreneurs who are running the business from their home. So here you can see the online businesses where these people are buying and selling without any place. So those types of businesses you can see they are running from their home. You can see many tuition classes. Those teachers are giving the tuition classes from their home. And there are many businesses, small entrepreneurs or small scale businesses. These people are just running their business from the home. That is also depends on their wish. So you can see the categorization of how you choose your business premises. Basically, thing, these choice of these business premises mainly depend on your nature of the business and the required capital that you have at the initial stage. So these are the four categorization. So think of your business. If you are starting a business, think of that. And yeah. So they here they are elaborating. So as I said earlier, you can see. So here you can see the first one is yeah. So constructing your own premises can be the best option if your business has specialized demands on the building or the location of the building. So however, you will need a lot of capital and also it will take time, right? So think of that. So as I said earlier, so if you're having these, if you're having the need for certain business, so there are some business that is mainly depend on the location, right? So those types of business definitely need a specific designs or architecture where you can attract your customers. So those types of business definitely need these construct option because their business mainly depend on these their building and the location. So that is the first thing. And the next one is buying. So buying an existing building can be faster and simpler way if you find an appropriate building. For example, so as we discussed earlier, so it is obvious, right? So you can easily buy your building, and it's a faster and a simpler way. and you can choose your building on your own wish, and you can adapt your building, or you can design your building in a way to that suits your business. And also it requires a lot of capital. Constructing as well as buying need a required a lot of capital. And the next one is renting. When we talk about the capital, so the first two options need higher capital, a lot of capital, but here the renting needs a less capital than the constructing and buying. And also it is a flexible because we can change the locations as we wish based on our requirement. But when we talk about the security, so you know the security, right? So if we are having our own building, we are secured because it is our building and we can run the business at any time. But here the renting is something risky when compared to the options of constructing and buying. And sometimes you may need to spend money because you need to modify your building based on your need. So those also one of the disadvantages of this renting option. And the third final one is running a business from the home. So this is the cheapest option when compared to the above three options because it is your home and you don't need to pay anything extra for having your business in that home. But you might have some additional expenses, your electricity or other thing. And also there might be opportunity cost if you are running your business from your home, because you have to have that you may have that difficulty of your privacy if you're having your business in your home. So if the particular entrepreneur is a small scale entrepreneur without any backup capital or initial capital, so this is the best option. So he or she can choose this option at their first stage, and they can move on to the other three options: renting, buying, or constructing based on their successful. So these are the advantages or pros and cons of these options: constructing, buying, renting, and running. So as an entrepreneur, you need to decide which options that you are going to select for choosing your premises. So this is a simple thing that you can able to understand from your environment as well. So you can see a entrepreneur in your area who is running successfully. So you can see how that person is choosing their building. Sometimes it may be that building may be a rent building, or he might have his own building where he has constructed based on his designs and all these things. Or sometimes you can see a person who is running the business from the home itself. So these things are you can see from your environment and you can decide as well. So if you are starting a business, so you normally these things we normally do, right? So what is in our hand as initial capital, and how we are going to start our business. So the premises is the important thing that you need to include in your business plan, because the lending organization, for example, if you are giving your business plan to lending organizations like bank or financial institutions, so those organization definitely will look up your business premises and how we are going to choose your business premises, right? So this is the important thing that you need to include in your business plan. Yeah. So the next one is the machineries, equipment, and tools. So it is obvious that if it is a manufacturing organization, you definitely need to have the required machineries and equipments and tools in order to run your business. In some cases, there might be situations based on the virtual or imaginary organizations like e-marketing or e-commerce. So on those aspects, the required machineries, equipments, and tools might be less when compared to the manufacturing organization. So it purely depend on your nature of the business. So here you can see the need for the equipment is normally biggest for manufacturers and some service operators. Some businesses will require heavy investment in the equipment, and it is important to know that what you need and choose the right equipment. even for the business that only need a very little equipment, it is important to carefully think about what you need. So basically, the the important thing when you are choosing these machineries and equipment, you need to have the analysis before starting your required machines, right? So you need to have the market analysis or the analysis you can choose from the organizations which are doing the similar thing like your business, and you need to have the idea which machineries we need at the initial stages and what kind of after sales services that I'll be getting if I buy these machinery for my manufacturing purposes. And there are many aspects that you need to focus on the when you are investing your money in the machineries equipment, because you are going to invest a huge amount of money in these machineries equipments. If it is a manufacturing organization and also in some service organization, they purely depend on these machineries. So as a entrepreneur who is going to invest your money, you need to have a clear idea how many machines I need, what are the equipments need, what is the capacity of the machines, price, and you need to see the availability of the spare parts and also what kind of energy need. So, for example, in the Sri Lanka, so you can see the import restrictions, right? So, if you are deciding a business which is purely depending on the import machines, you need to see the availability of your spare parts. So there are many companies they are running out of the spare parts because of the import restrictions, right? So as a in entrepreneur, you need to see what is the rules and regulations of our country regarding the import of these machineries and their spare parts. And also you need to see the nature of the energy. So currently you can see the prices of our energy resources, the increase of these prices, and also you can see the rules and regulations regarding the price increase and the percentage of the VAT and all these things. So as an entrepreneur, you need to see all these aspects when you are choosing your machineries and equipment. So sometimes there might be cases you are out of the specific spare parts if you are buying a machinery at the year of 2020 2024. So there might be cases the government will import restrictions on certain types of these spare parts and you may out of control. So on those types you need to forecast what will be happen future, and you need to decide. So as entrepreneur, it is your responsibility to analyze the market. So this is the important thing when you are investing your money in the machinery, equipment, and tools. And also, it is one of the next thing that you need to include in your business plan as well, because you are investing a huge amount of money in the machineries, equipments, and tools. Yeah. Other than buying, I hope that you know about the term lease, right? So lease, I hope that. So it is the most currently you can see many are using this term leasing. So this is also one of the option for buying. So okay, for obtaining the machinery, so the equipment. So you can see the thing is when comparing to the buying, so it is an expensive way because you are going to pay the capital plus investment. So if you are going to do the leasing, you need to pay your capital plus interest, right? So that is the thing that you'll be facing in the leasing. But the thing is, you don't need to have a huge amount of initial payment or initial amount like the buying option, because at the if you are buying the all the machines in your own capital, you definitely need to have a huge amount of investment capital at the initial. But if it is the leasing case, you need to have that initial amount and also at the initial stage, and also then after that you have to pay the lease payment as a monthly payment. In that monthly payments, I hope that you have studied these things in your accounting. So in that leasing amount, you definitely have that your capital plus the interest. So that is the disadvantage of this leasing. And so as in your business plan, so you can choose which options that you are going to choose. If you are having that huge amount, you can choose for these buying options, or if you're having the initial capital uh, in a little amount, so you can choose this leasing. So that is the thing that you need to include. So here you can see, if you decide to lease equipment, you must change your business plan, take the machines out of the investments, and add the lease payment to the required working capital. So in the accounting, I hope that you know about how to include these leasing, right? So if it is a leasing machines, you need to you need to show those things separately in your statement of financial position and also statement of income. So as in the business plan as well, you need to show how you are going to include your leasing in the business plan. So you can see how what they are mentioning. So if you decide to lease your machineries, you need to change first. You need to take the machines out of the investment. So it cannot become under the category of investments because you are going to lease, and you need to add the lease payments to the required working capital. Why we are adding to the required working capital? Because as a monthly payment we need to pay to the lessor, because we have got the machines using these lease options. So lease payments monthly in the sense that comes under the category of required working capital. So as a monthly, we need this amount of money to pay to our lessor. So that's what they are mentioning here. So these are the simple things that you can able to understand based on the standards. I hope that you have studied these things in our A level also we have these things leasing, right? So here you don't need to have that much of capital knowledge, which means the accounting knowledge. You need to have the idea of where you are going to include in the business plan. So that is enough for your preparing this one. And okay, so the next expense is the thing is I have already told about you the pre-operative activities and expenses. So when you are starting your business, there are certain activities and you have to do before you start your business. So for those kinds of activities, you need to incur certain amount of cost. So those costs also you need to include in your business plan. So first understand, previously we discussed about the capital investment. So how much capital you need to invest. For that we have discussed about the business premises. They have categorized the capital investment as business premises and machineries. And in your business plan, you need to categorize those things. Business, how much money you are going to invest and which options that you are going to choose. And for the machineries also, you have to include what kind of options that you are going to choose, whether you are going to buy or whether you are going to lease. So this is the next category, pre-operative activities and expenses. So you can see what they are referring here. When you start your business, you have to remember that there are certain activities that you have to perform. So you can see the examples here. So you don't need to read everything. So you can see examples. Obtaining permit if necessary, obtaining land and building, identification and selection of machinery, sourcing of raw material, developing infrastructure. So you know that so we have discussed, right? So first one is obtaining permit. So it is obvious that if you are willing to start a restaurant in the in your area, so you should have to get the permit or the authorization from the authorizing body in your area. For example, if you are willing to start a restaurant, so you need to get the approval from the DS office and the health side, which means the PHI also need to inquire what kind of facilities that you are having, and also you need to have that health certificate, right? So in the hotels and all these restaurants, you can see they have ranked their cashier point. So if it is, you can see A ranking, B ranking, C ranking. So you can see the letters near the cashier point. So those things reflect the permit and their ranking. So in the meantime, at the initial stage, they need to have the permit, but and after running the business successfully, those ranking will differ based on their inspections and all these things. So in the university canteen also you can see, right? So in order to run the canteen, there should be some certain kind of health regulations and rules and regulations from the health side need to be maintained. For obtaining those things, that particular restaurants or these cafe need to have certain kinds of or need to incur certain kind of cost. So those costs come under the category of pre-operative costs. And also for obtaining land and building. So if you are obtaining the land or building, you need to register your land. So if you are buying the land or building, you need to register. So for the registration, the certain amount of money needs to be paid to the lawyer and also for the registration purposes, and also then the identification and selection of machines. So if you are willing to buy a particular kind of machine, so you are an entrepreneur, but you don't have the clear idea about which machines to buy. So you are suggesting or you're asking a consultant from the consultancy services or from a person who is doing these businesses. So for that person, you need to pay certain kind of fees, right? So all these fees and all these things come under category of machineries, and also for the initial setup also, you need to have the help of one of the expert or the technical person. So you need to pay for them. So those kinds of expenses also comes under category of these pre-operative activities and sourcing raw material, developing infrastructure. So it is obvious that for getting the raw materials, you need to have the contact of the middleman and all these people. So in order to get those contact and all these things, you need to spend a certain amount of money. And also for the developing infrastructure, it is obvious that you need to consult a person who is good at this infrastructure. So for that person, you need to spend a money. You need to pay that person a considerable amount of fees. So all these are pre-operatives, which means before establishing your business, you need to incur all these expenses or the cost. So these things also you need to add in your business plan. So that's why they are including these things, pre-operative activities and expenses. So please remember the first thing is the capital investment you need to include. The second one is the pre-operative activities. So as an entrepreneur, you need to categorize what are the things that comes under the category of the capital investment and what are the things that comes under the category of pre-operative activities. So these identification of the expenses will definitely helpful for you to identify and categorize your expenses, right? So please remember these things. So these are the practical things. I hope that you have understood. So if you have any questions, you can ask me. So I'm talking. So you can see the next thing is the working capital. So anyone have an idea of the what is meant by this working capital? So working capital, how we are going to differentiate the working capital and the pre-operative expenses. Working capital. So you should differentiate the three things: the capital investment, pre-operative expenses, and the next thing is the working capital. Here you can see you normally run your business for some times before any money comes in in from sales. And the next sentence is manufacturers must produce before they can sell. Some service operators have to buy materials before they can start selling their service. Retailers and wholesalers must buy stocks before they can start to sell. So at the initial stage, you have all set up your business, and at the initial sales in initial initial stage, you have to sell without any income, right? Which means at the initial stage you need to buy these all these machineries and the raw materials, and you have produced something, and without any sales you have started the producing and producing the final product. So on those times you need to have certain kind of capital to run your business, right? So there might be cases where you have to face these expenses. For example, at the initial stage, even if you are not getting any sales income or not, you have to pay the salary for the particular employee, right? And also you have to pay if you are renting a building, even if you are getting income from sales or not, you have to pay the rent, you have to pay the electricity bill. So for all these expenses for the month, so this can be also called as the startup capital. So you can see, because your business needs the money from the start, it is included in the amount of startup capital you need. You must calculate how much working capital you need for your business. The amount depends on how long it will take before money starts coming from the sales and how much stock you need. So it depends on the nature. So you need to calculate how much money I need at my initial stages before starting the sales as a working capital, because I have to pay all these expenses, even it is making the sales income or not. I have to pay, right? So you, as an entrepreneur, you should decide how much capital I need to have in my balance to pay these things. So as a part of the business plan, you need to include these things as well. First thing is capital investment. The second one is the pre-operative expenses, and the third one is working capital. So please remember to include these things when you are starting business. So the practical thing is, as a practical person, you know, right? So I am starting a business. So at the initial stage, if I'm not making any sales, how I'm going to pay the rent for my first month or the second month? How I'm going to pay the electricity bill? How I'm going to pay the salary for my employee? So as an entrepreneur, as a proprietor, you need to see how you are going to pay. And as the important thing, you need to include this in your business plan. Okay. So you can see so these are the things that we have discussed. The you need a working capital to cover stock of raw material, promotions we need for the wages, rent, and if you are having that insurance thing, if you have register your business for any kind of insurance, you have to pay the insurance right from the first month itself. And there are other costs. So for covering all these costs, you need to have a certain kind of working capital in your business plan. Then only you can recover your cost at the initial stages, because you have allocated a certain amount of money for that, and you can utilize your that money or your working capital at your initial months. It can be 1 to 3 months or 6 months. It depends on your sales. So if you're having the considerable amount of sales, you can decide how much money I have to keep as a working capital. So for every organization, they are mentioning this working capital as a liquidity, right? So the liquidity of the organization need to be well maintained. It cannot be over, and it cannot be low when comparing their cash balance. So the organization needs to decide these things. So you can see how they are indicating the required start of capital. So this is one of the example. So just see how they are including. So the fresh bread bakery is willing to start their business. So they have mentioned first one is the under the required start of capital. They have mentioned the investments. So under investments, they have included the business premises. You can see construction or purchase of the building they have allocated. So it will like 00. It can be million, but here we have included only the 15,000. So construction of the purchase of building, construction or purchase of building, 15,000. Conversion or reconstruction of the business premises, pre-operative expenses, 10,000. So this is one of the thing under the category of investment, business premises. Okay. So here, I'll talk about all these things in this example. So here you can see the pre-operative expenses. Then the equipments they have needed. So they have categorized the equipments, fixtures, oven, tools for baking, motorbike, mixing machines, transport cost. So all these things they have included under the category of equipment. And they have categorized the next thing as the working capital. So for the stock of raw materials, they have allocated an amount of 30,000. So total stock capital they have all these things as the stock of capital. So it's because if I'm who is going to give a loan for you, if I'm a bank, so I will see how they are categorizing the business premises. So construction or purchase. So it and then I will see the equipments, what kind of equipments the bakery is going to buy. So I will see the working capital they need. So if you categorize all these things, then only the lending organization will understand what kind of business that you are going to do and what kind of analysis that you did in order to start your business. So for the lending organization, it will be easy for them to understand your business and do their needful. Okay. So here they have categorized these for hardware. So same as these things, but they have shuffled the order. You can see business premises, equipment, pre-operative expenses, working capital. So it varies from organization to organization. So there is not a standard format, but you need to include all these things. So that is important. The next thing is, so we have discussed about the, okay, we have discussed about the capital, right? First one is the capital investment capital or the capital investment, and the next one is the pre-operative expenses. The third one is working capital. So as entrepreneur, you need to decide. You have to categorize your those investments and you have to include in your business plan. So we have seen two examples. One is the bakery and the hardware, and you can see how they are differentiating their investment. So you also need to include those things. There's no any standard format, as I said earlier, but you need to include all those things. And the next one is the types and sources of the startup capital. So it is obvious, right? So in your statement of financial position, what is that? SOFP, statement of financial position. Is the statement of financial position. In the statement of financial positions, you can see equity capital and for the loans, we said debt capital, right? So here there are, as they have mentioned here, there are two sources to get your startup capital. One is the equity capital, and the next one is the debt capital. Equity capital, in the sense, you are investing your own money. So you might have a considerable amount of savings in your money in your bank account, and you have the idea of starting a business. So at that time, you are withdrawing that money and investing in your business. So here you can see equity or owner's contribution means the private money you put into your business. If your business fails, you will use the money. Owner's equity is called also risk capital because you are risking your capital. So it is obvious that I hope that you know the term, the equity capital in the statement of financial position. In the accounting, you have studied these things, equity capital and the debt capital. That is one thing, equity capital. The next one is the loan. So loan in the sense debt, right? You are getting the money from outside. So it can be anything that you are getting from the outside. If you are getting a money from your friend, that is also loan. So some cases it can be investment. If your friend and you are doing the business as a partnership, that is different. But if you are having your own business and uh, borrowing money from your friend or from your relative, from the bank, from the financial institution, from a financial company. So all these comes under the category of loans or debt capital. So here we talk only about the bank loan. So here you can see to get a loan for a startup capital mean that someone lends you money. You are borrowing money from someone or someone lends you a money. So you have to pay the interest on the loan and you have to pay the loan back. You can pay the loan back either in installments or at one depending on the applicant. So it depends from organization to organizations or from person to person. So if you are borrowing money from your friend, you can pay based on the agreement that you sign with your friend or the person. And if you are borrowing money from the banks or the licensed commercial banks or the financial companies under the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, so their terms different, right? So on those aspects, you have to decide. Sorry, the financial institution has to decide on what basis that you are going to pay. So that comes under the category of loan. Okay. So here you can see you may able to borrow money for the equipment and working capital. So most of the lending organization have major two requirements when you apply for a loan. So for example, if you are willing to start and you are going to apply loan for your business, the financial institutions or the lending institution will have the major requirements. You can see the first one is a well thought, thorough, and clear business plan with a business idea that the lending institutions believes in. An unclear business plan will make a bad impression and make it difficult for the lending institution to form an options. So it is obvious, right? So if you are approaching a bank for a business that you are going to start, that lending organizations or the institution definitely ask you the business plan. So that is why we are preparing this business plan. So if we are having that clear cut business plan with all these things that need to be included, you will have a positive response from the lending institution or the financial institution. So it is in your hand to prepare a clear cut business plan where you can convince your lending institution to get the required fund from them, because they will get the confidence from your business plan. Because if you're having that clear cut and straightforward business plan, you will have that positive responses. So that is the first requirement for getting the required capital from the lending institution. And the next thing, sometimes the lending institution asks for the collateral. So you have heard about, I hope that you have heard the word collateral. So collateral means the security that the lending institution has for the repayment of the loan. If you cannot repay the loan, the lending institution has the right to take the possession of the collateral. The business premises can be used, machines. Okay. So there might be cases, the lending institution, for example, you are approaching a bank and they have asked for the business plan and you have submitted the business plan. But in some cases, they might be have the doubt of the future of your business or your successful of your business. So on those cases, they might ask for a asset or collateral as a backup for your loan amount. So if there are any circumstances that you fail to pay your loan, that collateral or the asset may be at the hand of the financial or the lending institution. So these are the normal practices that these financial institution or these lending institutions are doing currently based on the based on your requirement. So if you are having a good or a cut business plan, you might not able to face these collateral thing, because if they feel that your business is going to be successful, they might not ask for this collateral. So it depends on your business plan and your approach, how you're approaching the bank or the financial institution. So as entrepreneur, you need to decide these things when you're asking money from a financial institution or the lending institution in Sri Lanka. So you can see the licensed commercial banks in Sri Lanka are having strict policies in lending money for these kind of entrepreneurs. But think of the financial companies. Currently, there are many financial companies, those who are providing the small and medium scale entrepreneurs, prices, owners, uh, capital, but they are not having the which they are not having a proper guidelines for giving the money. They are just investigating and they are giving money. But the thing is, at the last time, at the last resort, they are facing difficulties in getting the money back. So it depends from organization to organization on which policies they are adapting for giving money or lending money for the people. So this is also one of the things that you need to focus. You need to include. And then you can see there are other ways you can get your initial capital. So you can in the currently in Sri Lanka, there are many ways the government is supporting this many assistance for those entrepreneurs. So it depends if you are starting in your area, you can approach your DA's office and you can ask for the viable solutions for getting money. So there are many credit schemes where you can get the initial capital. But considering, I personally feel like that these credit schemes are mainly for the small entrepreneurs in who are starting the business in a small scale. But if you are willing to start a huge amount of business like manufacturing thing in a large scale, you definitely need to approach the financial institutions. Sometimes government will also provide any concessions for those businesses as well. So it varies from year to year and also from the government to government. These credit schemes and will different. And non-governmental credit schemes also you can see there are earlier there are many non-governmental organizations, NGOs. We normally call those people as NGOs. Those people are investing a certain amount of money for these entrepreneurs in the undeveloped or the remote area, right? So that is also one of the way of getting the money for the small scale enterprises in Sri Lanka. So there's nothing much to discuss in this. So you can see how they are disclosing their source of capital. So you can see Saragama Hardware. Mr. Malvana owns the building that he and his family live in, and he will offer the building as a property for the collateral. So here you can see the owner is giving the property as a collateral if applying for a loan. He mentioned the address as well. So here you can see the required start of capital and source of capital, owner's equity, other sources, and bank loan. So you can see how this is the required amount of money that he is having, amount of money that he needs. Sorry. So this is the required amount of money that this particular hardware needs and how he is categorizing the required capital. Required capital. The amount of money that Mr. Malvana is investing is this amount, 177,025 rupees. as his equity capital, and he is getting a bank loan of 150,000 as a debt capital. So altogether, his required capital is 327,025 rupees. So this is the categorization of the required capital as owner's equity, and the next one is the bank loan. And also he has mentioned, if he is getting a bank loan, he might be able to have his building or his home as a collateral. So he has mentioned this as well in his business plan. So remember, these are the things that they have included in the business plan. Okay. So I'm stopping from here because I'm having lectures at 10:30. So I will upload the slides for you now, because the remaining things are the format of the business plan. So sometimes these format will helpful for you to understand. So I will upload these things. So you can refer to this business plan format. So this is one of the example for the business plan. So you can see the name of the business types, and then the details of the price, details of the product, details for the price for retailers and wholesalers, details of the place, 4Ps, details of the promotions, then details of the staff, legal responsibilities, labor cost form, indirect cost form, product costing form. So these have discussed earlier, but they have incorporated all these things in a form. Then sales and cost plan, cash flow plan, required start capital. So these we have discussed. Source of capital also we have discussed. Then financial ratios we didn't discuss, but I will discuss later. And then so this is all about your business plan. So I will upload this slide for your information to understand about the business plans, and I will continue later. So thank you. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, I will wind up.